no one's giving a woman capital for her ideas. I'm getting like doors slammed, and there's only 4 doors to slam. Like,
Right.
You know, so I'm like,
Right.
shit, like I'm out of luck here. On to the next, on to the next. That first year, we did 5 million in payments on this platform that didn't exist. The next year, we did 5 billion in payments.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Like it was insane. And it is really hard in all the things that we go through. It's so lonely. But I was sharing like the hardest part is not just, you know, being a founder, being a female founder, being a minority founder, like all the things you want to put on me. The hardest part is being a mom and being a founder.
Walking down the street, thinking about her exit, breaking down the steps so every founder gets it. She's the exit whisperer, she's opening the door. It started with a whisper, now that whisper's gonna roar. She just sold her company, and here you get the real story. Shh, you could be next. Walking down the street, thinking about her exit.
Today is a podcast of firsts. First of all, it's my first live podcast that I recorded at Your Exit Plan with Luminary. That was like a really new experience, but it was also my first interview with a $1 billion valued exited founder. I'm so excited to have you learn from Suneera Madhani, just as my audience did a few moments ago. She co-founded Stax Payments with her brother when she brought it to her company as an idea, and it was summarily rejected. So as a young 25-year-old woman, she was real sad about that dejection. But guess what? That company, they made a pretty big mistake because Suneera built that thing to be worth over $1 billion. I can't wait for you to listen to her. Here she is, and here I am, live from Luminary, Suneera Madhani.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here for so many different reasons. One, I actually have never been to the Luminary space, and we've been trying to do this, and so this is special for me in just so many different ways, and just thank you for having me today.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you. And actually, Kate, since you are the co-host, in your first impression, like what would be one word to describe your experience?
This is hard because there's so many, but if I just look at what Suneera has done, remarkable.
Oh, yes.
Remarkable. I mean, one, whether you're exiting for any amount of money, but being $1 billion, having $1 billion exit, 2, being a mom of 2, 3, building a company from scratch, seeing an opportunity from the beginning, and I love your founder story, and the whole focus around people, process, profits. Like that to me is just like why she's not only a great founder, but an incredible CEO. And so remarkable.
Okay.
And she's a great friend.
I'm gonna tell you how I met Suneera right now, and then we're gonna get to this interview. Suneera was introduced to me through one of the members of Millionaire Founders Club, MSC, which is her incredible community that she has. And she took the call, but she was extremely busy. Like she doesn't take random calls, but she somehow ended up on this call with me. And I had maybe 5 minutes to convince her exactly why she needs to become immediately my best friend. Like I had no time. I was so nervous. I was like, okay, Suneera, she's so amazing. Okay, so I get on the phone. And she's like, yeah, I normally don't take these calls. And I was like, okay, I have to get her to love me. And okay, so then I told her about the mission of the Whisper Group. And when I heard her reaction, not only did I feel so validated in that experience, but I was so impressed. And the word I would use, because of course at that point I didn't know you as well, was so incredibly focused.
Great word.
You know what you want, and I know it wasn't like that in the beginning, which is where we're going to go in a second, but like, you know what you want, and you are focused. And once you get in that line of focus, oh my God, I feel so grateful to be in that space with you.
Wow, I mean, this is amazing. I just want to come hang out with you guys. And everybody just tell me how amazing I am. Yes. This is amazing. This is incredible. I will say that it takes, amazing to also recognize amazing as well. And so I am so grateful for the true friendship. And I think that is what is so incredible about women coming together truly in that lens. I think that we really do just want to support each other. And it is really hard in all the things that we go through. It's so lonely. It's hard building a business. It's so hard building a business and being a mom. But I was sharing like the hardest part is not just, being a founder, being a female founder, being a minority founder, like all the things you want to put on me. The hardest part is being a mom and being a founder. I hadn't actually seen a group that was talking about this. And this is something that is so important. And my mission on scaling businesses and everything that I've done with CEO School, which I'm sure we're going to get to, is not just less than 2% of female founders ever break $1 million in revenue. And that is a problem. And so when we sit here and we talk about venture and lack of capital and everything I'm doing in the financial sector and all of my companies, I call it my day job, we can't make an impact if we ourselves are not building bigger. Like it's just not going to happen. We're not going to get investors. We're not going to get the capital. And not only to build bigger, but also then to do it to build an asset, because business at the end of the day is an asset and we need to treat it as such. And so when I got a chance to connect on your mission, and it was like immediate, and like, I'm so glad that you're having this conversation, because the first book I read on M&A was M&A for Dummies.
Yep.
And swear to God. And because there was no CEO School and there was no Exit Whisperer and there was no Luminary. And so that's why the connection was quick and hard and deep, and it's real friendship. So this is authentic.
Can I add one thing to your stat? Because I love that you use stats. As a banker myself, I like statistics. 2% over $1 million, 88% over 6 figures for women. Now, if you're running, like you said earlier, a lifestyle, cash flow business, and that's great too. Not everybody wants to exit. But I think you have to have an idea of what you want to do with your business and where you want it to be.
It's like Suneera said about dream. You have to, if we need to always push ourselves to think bigger. No matter, it doesn't mean we have to think to the unicorn level, but we need to challenge ourselves for sure to think bigger. Suneera, I want to know what one word you would use to describe yourself.
Exhausted. Exhausted.
Truth is spoken.
Exhausted. It is real. I am happy though. Like I'm very happy. I live a really beautiful life, and it's not just the business. I have a wonderful family. I'm so grateful for my upbringing, my parents, I work with my brother, my kids are amazing. And so I'm just so grateful for all the relationships I have.
By the way, your kids are, her 2 daughters. Okay, I spoke at the Unicorn Summit in Orlando in February. And I walk in and this is like, talk about like ethos. There are 2 little girls working the merch stand.
Oh my God.
And when I tell you, they are the best sales people.
Yep.
She's like, okay, you want a hat? You want a t-shirt? You should get this. You're a CEO. You're going to be a billionaire exit. I was like, I'll take it all. I'll take it all. And they are, and just seeing them also in the audience, watching their mom and your husband as well. It was just incredible just to see, like, and you talk about your family. And I think that's also so important, because we are not just our businesses, right? And I love that you use the word exhausted, because
It's
it
the truth.
is the truth.
Exhausted and happy are really things that I think founders often are, because we wouldn't build if we didn't love it.
Yes.
And we wouldn't be building it if there wasn't a little bit of exhaustion.
It is. It's the reality of it. My girls are just the cutest, and they didn't just run the merch shop actually. So we had our first ever. We had our first ever Unicorn Summit for our community. I've had CEO School. I started it in 2020, post our Series B for my first company, Stax, and this was like pre-pandemic too. So I launched a podcast in 2020 because I didn't go to CEO School, and that was the whole premise. And I was tired of listening to how he built this. I wanted to learn how she built this.
Right.
So we were one of the first in the space to really focus on this topic around crossing that 7-figure threshold. What does that look like? Building business and a life, and how we're doing it as women. So that was how CEO School started. And so I haven't brought the community together. So the Unicorn Summit was our first conference in February in Orlando. But I gave the girls an assignment, which was, to actually build out. It wasn't just like go run the shop. It was, here's your assignment. This is going to be your activation. You get to design the merchandise that you want to see. You get to pick the quantities. You have to determine the pricing. You have to understand your cost of goods. You have to manage inventory. And so they literally were working on this for over 2.5 months on this project every day to get it just right. And I was there like, you know, and they already have another business that's called Gorgeous Girls. That's for another topic. But they're obsessed. But they executed so well, and I'm so proud of their execution. They actually made, I think they made like a $3,000 overall profit. Amazing. Which went into their savings account. So, but they made all the things, they did all the things, and it was really fun. So I really do believe in you'll hear family come out of my mouth a lot. I just feel really grateful for the life I live because I am a daughter of immigrants, and that's why I'm also exhausted because my mom lives across the street, and it is like my life is I swear my life is a reality TV. It's a reality TV show. It's everybody loves Faisal. Everybody loves Raymond. My mom lives across the street. My in-laws live here. It's a full village. I live in Orlando, but it is like what makes everything really just work, and it's really special. And I don't see that side. I really 100% believe we had a lot of success in building. I know we're going to talk about the unicorn, the business side of it, but I think that as women, I would say that I come across as like really extroverted, confident, all the things now, but it's because I've been on like 100 million stages at this point, but it didn't come naturally. Like my confidence comes from the people around me, and like my family and my friends and my peers have always been the ones, like everyone has seen it in me more than I've seen it in myself.
Absolutely.
And so that has been like my backbone to becoming successful, is because I have a really strong, like I don't know if I have a really strong partner. I have a really strong partner, my husband, my business partner, my brother. Like I have such a strong background around me. And so I've never ever seen my gender as a thing.
Yeah.
I've never seen the color of my skin
as a thing.
Yeah. I've just like shown up and I'm like, yeah, we've got this because I've got such like a power.
Yeah, I want to talk about that in a minute, but where I want to go now, because you talked about, I love how you didn't go to CEO school. I don't even think you set out to be an entrepreneur. Yeah. You originally came up with the idea for Stax Payments as an idea for your company, like as where you worked.
Yes.
Talk to me a little bit about that. You started as sort of like an intrapreneur, but they rejected it. Tell me this story. I need this story.
Yeah, I was 25 years old, so I went to University of Florida. I was the first person in my family to graduate college. Super overachiever. I'm a Virgo as well, so I really do believe in like all the signs. So, like I'm like to the T. When you say focus, like I can get shit done like nobody else. And so I did finance, marketing, also leadership. So odd, I actually get to use all of my degrees, which is very rare. I ended up at a payments company. So this is wasn't even called fintech, like financial technology wasn't even a thing, it's just financial services. So I was working at a financial services payment processor, which was commoditized, a commoditized industry. It's just credit card processing, but a necessity for every business. We were becoming more and more cashless as a society. I mean, like now we're like, I don't think I have $1 on me today.
Right.
And so at that time, it was probably like 70% like cashless, and this is 2010 is like the time frame. And I understood like the back end of like the pricing, and it's such a black box for small business owners. Like the fees were, this is pre like Stripe as well, where it was like, here's 3.5%. And between something with all of those elements, I'm like, wait, why is there no subscription in credit card processing? Like this is like a flat monthly subscription. This is now also like Spotify, like all the SaaS is booming.
Right.
The physical subscriptions are booming. And it was something clicked, and I was like, this has to be a thing. So I do what any, entrepreneur does, is like you go to Google and I Googled like subscription-based payment processing, credit card processing, nothing. And I'm searching, I'm like, there's gotta be, does this not exist? And again, Carrie, it wasn't for myself. I was like, I'm gonna take this back to my company and be a hero.
You thought you were being a good employee in doing this.
And I knew it was gonna benefit me because I'm like, I can go lead the group. I'm 25 years old, and I'm like, this is gonna be amazing.
Of course.
And so my superpower for sure is that I truly am like 1 degree connected from any single person. Like I feel like relationships are my superpower, so I can get into any room somehow. And so I got the meeting with the CEO.
I think I know how.
But I mean, I'm 25. I don't have these skill sets yet. Like
I promise you, like you had that. You just didn't know it because the ovaries that you had to go in and actually do this with your boss.
That's why I need Kate as a co-host.
Is 100% because you were like, I know my shit.
Yeah, I knew
right?
my shit.
You knew your shit, and you were like, I know this is an opportunity, and this is going to be a game changer for the company.
I walk right in, I go to my boss, and I'm like, this is going to be incredible. Actually, I didn't have much interaction with the leadership team. Mind you, there's no women in leadership. There's no, like, the only women that worked in the company were in support or account managers. Mm-hmm. Like, that was the entire company. So I give this presentation, and every single thing is thought through because, as like Kate said, I know my shit. So I am fully prepared. And the response that I got was just the complete opposite of what I was expecting. It was, oh, little girl, this is great, so ambitious of you, but this would never work, right? It would never work. Why would we invest in technology? Why would we want to be transparent and give away 40% of our margin? We don't need to. Don't worry about like the Silicon Valley, Stripe and Square. They're never going to make it. Like, it was complete I felt so defeated, And I was like, I can go back to that moment because I'm asked about that moment often. So now I feel like I've like gotten therapy through all of the podcasts I've been on of like going back to that moment. I have to like live it. All I was doing was like holding back. When your tears are falling, but you're trying not, like your eyes are like completely full and you're just trying to hold it together. And that was it. And I was like, okay, thank you for your time. Like literally left and took that flight back home. And I flew back to Orlando. Like I said, like it was like family dinner Sunday or something like that. So I get home and we're at the dinner table and I'm sharing this idea to my dad. And he goes, well, Sunny, that's my childhood, like it's my nickname. And he's like, well, why don't you go start the company? And I'm like, Dad, where do I go find Mr. Visa? Like, how
where?
do I start a payments company? Like, I just worked for this, group that had 1,000+ employees. Like, how do I even bridge this gap? And he's like, well, your boss figured it out. So like, why can't you figure it out? And it's like something so simple that somebody to ask me and they're like, you're right. I can go try to figure it out. And he's like, what's the worst that's going to happen? Yep. You're going to fail. And then 6 months later, like you'll just go and get your MBA. But that's also like every Indian parent, Pakistani, but they just want you to go back to school all the time. He's like, you'll get another degree. And so I was like, okay, let's give it a shot. And he said to me, he goes, but you can't go back and work for them. Yeah. So he's like, what are you going to do now? Because they clearly don't believe in you and you don't want to ever work in a place that like you are not, your ideas aren't, even if it wasn't going to work, you can't go back and work for them. And I'm like, damn it, you are right. And so I put in my resignation, I quit my job, I moved back home, which I 100% believe this was all a ploy for me to also move back home.
Yes.
So I moved back in with mom and dad.
That's why they were so accepting of it. They were like, go for it. Just come home with us.
That's it. And that was the beginning. And I gave it 6 months. And within 6 months, I co-found my brother he was working in California at the startup. So he ended up joining me. I found a technical co-founder. There was like so much in between. But that first year, we did $5 million in payments on this platform that didn't exist. The next year, we did $5 billion in payments.
Unbelievable.
Like it was insane. 10-year-long journey. And
so we just say that again because I think
they need to hear it.
10-year-long journey. So it was record growth, but it was like one foot in front of the other. Every customer, like I literally drove a Volkswagen Beetle and I installed terminals. Like all I did was go to every customer, your first 100 customers, like getting every product piece right. And that $5 billion to $40 billion when I left as CEO in 2021, 400+ employees, over $500 million in venture capital. We ended up exiting. We did our Series C, and I'm really open about numbers and sharing. And so we did our Series C, which we did a majority transaction with private equity, and that was valued north of $220 million. And then 18 months later, we then did another transaction, I actually exited the business twice. So I stayed on, then we did Series D, and it wasn't full exit. It was like taking chips off the table. And at Series D, it was 1.1 billion, which put myself and the company and our team. We were the first unicorn out of Florida for like period, not just first female, not just first minority, all the things. And so I'm so incredibly proud of that journey. And then I took 3 months off and then started the next ones.
Okay. No small feat. Let's get a round of applause, first of all, for that story. Can I ask you a question as somebody who bootstrapped her way to exit? When you're raising at that volume, and how do you determine like how much you're taking off the table, how much is invested in the business? Like how does that all come to be as you're growing? Because you're getting diluted as you're raising funds, but you're also able to take money off the table. How does that work?
It doesn't work that way. And I didn't go to CEO school, and I didn't get to take chips off the table and until it was a lot later. And so I will say that it's not as, I think every deal is different.
Right.
So I think that there is no perfect playbook from a deal standpoint. However, to raise capital, one, not every business is it's not ready for venture capital. So that's one component of it. So there's like huge myth for, I just need investors and I'll grow. If you're building a lifestyle business, or if you're not going to get investors in the same way.
Many businesses that are even bigger than lifestyle businesses are still not fundable.
They're not
VC
fundable. VC fundable.
Yes.
So first, your business has to be venture fundable. And then the challenge is like no one's giving a woman capital for her ideas. Okay, so they're giving us capital because our business is executing on growth for proof.
They're proof.
Yes,
exactly. It's performing. It's
performing. And so I've always just focused on building a strong business. And so when we actually raise capital, is probably later than most fintechs in San Francisco or Boston or New York were probably raising venture capital. We raised venture capital for our seed through 2.5 years later after the company. So we were, our first year we did the $1 million in revenue, then we did 2, then we did 7. So between that 2 and 7 is when we were like, hey, there's growth happening. And there was a machine to prove like, hey, we just invested more capital, $1 of capital in earns us $3 out.
Yep.
That is a scalable SaaS, and we had a SaaS platform. We needed technology to grow. And so that's like one thing I want to share in the beginning is that not every business is ripe for it. Also, raising capital out of Orlando, you're already discounted. There's not a lot of venture funds that I can go to and like go down the block and be like, I'm just going to do like the Silicon Valley tour. No, like I'm getting like doors slammed, and there's only 4 doors to slam. So I'm like, shit, like I'm out of luck here. On to the next. And so you deal with a lot of rejection, and you get really good at your pitch and your story and listening to why, you're not ready for investment, right? So it doesn't mean like when you're rejected, it's not necessarily a no. Pay attention to that of like, it could be a not right now. And what are they saying about the business? So it's really smart on listening to what the investors were saying. And it was always around scalability, right? So we had proof, we had this, but like, can this actually scale? And so then we started to focus on like, if we had, we called it 10x scalability after our like first year. Like if I, and it should have been 100x, but if I 100x my volume, and I'll ask all of you that, and I think that's important for anyone listening to the Exit Whisperer, is if you had 100x the amount of customers, volume, would your systems break? And the answer is likely yes, then that's not scalable. And so everything you're building, build for scale. So then we focus on building for scale. But as you grow, then of course you dilute. I had 3 founders, like we had 3 co-founders. You kind of dilute 20% roughly overall every single time. So by the time you get to your Series D, like I owned less than 10% of the company, but it's kind of like the grape and the watermelon of 10% of $1 billion company it's worth a lot. And so that's a little bit to answer your question, but not all deals are the same. And also as a first time founder, like I didn't have advisors in this way and mentors and to say, oh, at this point you should be fighting to take X amount of capital, I didn't even know what like chips off the table meant, right? So all the analogies are all poker, betting, like golf, sports.
Yeah, they're very male.
Yeah. Oh my God. Get them half pregnant. Oh my God. Like the worst.
Between ovaries and pregnant.
I know.
Let me ask a question though, because Rebecca said it, like the readiness. Why Carrie and I decided to do this last December was like this readiness conversation. So even if you're thinking about an exit or you're acquiring, you need to start thinking about it because it could be an opportunity. So that readiness component is so big. Like, who are the lawyers I should be talking to? The accountants, the wealth advisors, the bankers. And so lesson learned, if you had to go back to those early kind of conversations, do you think you would have start building those network of experts earlier?
I think that always having a network of experts, you should start as early as possible. Like, why would you not want experts like by your side? You always want experts. I think the lesson going back, and whether you exit or not, building your business to whether you want to hand it to your employees, whether there's going to be a point where you are just going to be tired. Like, there is a life cycle of, even for us, like for me, like my creative life cycle, like 7 years, like after I do anything for that long, like I am bored.
Yeah.
And that's what happened even at Stax. Like I saw myself like losing, I loved our product. I loved our customers. I loved my team, but it becomes like monotonous in building the same thing as well. And that's why as women, we love, like, we are creative. We need that next thing. That's why we need the next things to excite us. And so recognize that like you will have a life cycle of your business. And so whether you decide to sell, whether you decide to sell to private equity, employees, like whatever else it is, build your business so that you can walk away, even if it's getting an operator in place. And so that's what I would say is like the biggest. And I did have really great advisors, and that's how I was able to do it. But it was, I didn't have access to as much as like now the conversations are happening now.
And the support you have now with it surrounded by the women that you choose to surround yourself with.
And all of your other advisors that kind of going through this process now, preparing you in your second company, right? Or your fifth, actually, because you have CEO school, you have MFC, you have so many things.
We're going to talk about all of it right now.
Cult of personality. So I heard this term, well, first of all, if you're my age, that was a great song back in the late 90s by In Living Color, but cult of personality. I was at an event.
It's a cult of personality.
Cult of personality.
Do you know?
No.
Cult of personality. Cult of personality. The cult of personality. We'll play that next. Anyway,
all right.
So
sorry.
Cult of personality. So a lot of founders, can your business survive beyond you? And so a lot of founders take on this persona of I am the business. And one of the things that I heard very early on when I was starting Luminary is you want to make sure if you're building this to scale that it can survive with or without you. So as you look at both Stax and now Worth, and you were so present, the face, you're on all the magazine colors. How do you think about and as you're talking to founders in MFC and the CEO school, this idea of the founder being the big part of the brand versus the business standing for itself?
I think that the founder, we live in a world now that my perspective has actually shifted back towards like the founder is the face of the company. People want to connect with brands that are human. They want to know your story. And I think there's a huge power in the founder being visible. And it is kind of, unfortunately, the job requirement in now starting companies. It wasn't that way in 2013. I was probably, if not the first to show up on social in my space. And that was frowned upon. Like I had investors and board members be like, oh my God, and she does like the Instagram thing. It was real.
Right.
And it wasn't professional to them. It wasn't professional. And so I actually think that you have to like be that face in 2026 because it is beneficial for your company to do so. However, I think that the shift happened for me is when I went from founder to CEO. And that is what I talk about often. That is what CEO school, so it was a podcast and it turned into this incredible accelerator and certification to go from founder to CEO and to put the hat on. There is a founder hat and then there's a CEO hat, and the CEO hat scales. And that is what the CEO's job is to do. And that is what lives on without me. And so I do think then when the founder does want to just play a founder role, they can play the founder role, but the CEO's job is to run the organization. I think it's amazing when you can be founder and CEO. And there's a place where after that 7-year cycle, like that's where I'm at even right now for Worth. And like where we built the first 3 years, I had to be back in to build. We just closed our Series A with American Express. I was actually with them last night at dinner in New York.
Amazing.
It's so exciting to build again and now get to choose my partners and do it on our terms because of experience. But that founder to CEO, this time around, like I want to play more of that founder role. I want to play the strategy role. I want to play the brand role, and I get to do that. And I'm actually not the CEO. I just stepped in. It's actually Chief Evangelist Officer. I created my own title, which also stands for CEO, by the way, when I need it. And so Sal and I are, we're co-CEOs of this one, and he's CEO of the company, and I'm chief evangelist. And I'm so excited for that role, but we have that systems and process in place.
Yeah.
And I think thinking back to where my big shift happened for scale was when I stepped into the CEO role. And you know, Kate, you alluded to, it's a playbook. And I think it's really so simple as that. And I've run multiple companies, not just my own companies, through this playbook. We've put 6,000 businesses through this playbook. And it comes down to like 6 pillars of scale. And I think it's the modern day MBA. And the core of it is people, process, profit. And everything we just look at from that lens of scale, emotion aside, right? And there's a time for our emotion and our passion and all the things that makes us founders, that grit, that hustle, wearing every hat. And then we have to step into the CEO role at a point to scale up so that we can do it with systems, with processes, without us, having a team that can do it. And not just a team where I get stuck in supporting women, is that we are playing in this world of, yes, I know I need to hire, and then we're hiring, you know, to delegate versus hiring leaders. Right? We are thinking about, you know, we're like, yes, I need to invest, you know, for growth into the company, but then we're still, you know, treating our businesses as lifestyle businesses and pulling, and yes, money matters. Like literally our whole motto is nothing bad happens when women make more money.
That's
but
right.
we have to set up our businesses for success in order to also reap the benefits, not the short-term benefits, but going back to the exit, the enterprise benefits where you have real assets. Like the quickest path to becoming a millionaire is by exiting your business.
Yeah.
Right? That is not hustling your way to pull the distribution to. I get so frustrated with the online digital space with like $10,000 months and like whatever. That's not how CEOs, we don't talk like that in business. We don't talk about cash flow in that way. So understanding your business from that lens, I think is super critical, and there's just a playbook for scale. This applies whether you are product-based company, service-based company, SaaS company, solopreneur, like, but just putting that hat on and having those tools and resources to say, oh yeah, this is how I'm going to think about my org chart. This is how I am going to think about capital. Here's how I'm going to think about like funding and resources for my business. Here's how I'm going to think about investing in what percentage of my business should I be thinking about from a marketing spend. And when I see women make decisions, we're not making decisions off of the right like growth structure and like creating like the first thing we do is like our annual operating plan and just building out a true annual operating plan, not just, oh, we're going to sell this much and then let's go spend on visibility and social media. And yes, those things are important, but I got to go drive sales growth first. I got to go drive, you know, profit first. And so I do think that the big shift, regardless of where you're at, I think that every founder should step into that CEO role, and then you get to choose to come back and play in the founder role when those like systems are in place. So,
Carrie, one of the things you said earlier when you asked about when Suneera and I met, so when you're judging with the Inc. female founders, I was able to look at some other comments of some of the other advisory board. And I'm all about business planning, cash flow. For those of you taking my boot camp, you know. And one of the things that I saw in Suneera's comments was like, everything was like cash flow, cash flow. I was like, this is the woman
She gets
speaking
it.
my
She gets
language.
it.
And so I think the fundamentals of all of running a business is oftentimes forgotten. And those are the things that when someone is looking to acquire or exit, the fundamentals are critical. The KPIs, the metrics.
It has to be a real business.
And I will say, literally, if I could leave something to all of you in the
Which
world,
was my last question. This is amazing. What do you want to leave them with?
Yes. Cool is not a business. I've invested in over 60 plus startups. I advise so many companies, and I have seen literally I can name you companies that have completely gone belly up that had all the right traction. Every bit on the Inc. 5000
And
list.
they were cool.
They're so cool. They're
They
in
were
Whole Foods, they're in
sexy.
this, they're in that, and just could not manage cash flow. Just could not manage the growth that was coming. Cool is not a business. And there is this world that we also live in because we're fighting for attention on social media. We're fighting for attention, for visibility. We have to have this as a founder and all the things as well, but we cannot lose sight of what makes our business successful, and everything else is distracting. So focus is really important. Niching down in your business, like just owning your market and being like, I always say, like, anything that I touch, I want to be one of. Like, I want people to come to me because there is only one me. That is it. There's no
Absolutely.
other solution for you. That's why my companies succeed. For CEO school, there is no other unicorn founder that is teaching business. There is no other solution.
That's true.
You know, and so that I do think that there is something special in each of like whatever that unique thing that you bring to the business. Like go focus on that, go focus on that one customer and like get your business right and plan for the exit.
I like that because of the 7 year you get bored because you're the only and it's the 7 years and you go and then everybody goes and tries and do it and boop, you're on to the next only. It's amazing.
Literally imitation is the biggest form of flattery. And if you are doing something right in your space, there will be copycats. Like that is what is going to happen.
Right.
This happens to me at every single stage.
Yes.
But you still have to find like even as things are emerging, like you being like so true to whatever makes your DNA authentic to your company, your team, like that thing, your customers will find you in that way.
I love that you said that because I think, and I know we're getting ready to wrap up, Carrie, but the stay in your lane, right? There's things, adapt, pivot, new revenue streams, but stay in your lane. I often get why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that?
Also, like know who you are.
Yeah. And we've talked about this, Carrie, a million times.
All the time.
Stay in your lane, but always keep taking in feedback, listening, what you've done. And I'll just say, from the very beginning in your 20s, working at that company, you were taking the cues from the customers, listening, and the company. And I think that's another reason why you've been so successful.
I also hope you walked in like Julia Roberts and put the thing down and said, big mistake. Big. Huge. Okay, so I just want to say one thing as we wrap, okay? Big mistake. In our community, so we have a community of exited female founders, the only community exclusively comprised of exited female founders, of which you are definitely joining.
100%.
But aside from that, I want to say there's something we say about that. No matter how big an exit is, I mean, look at this woman and what she's done. She's not sitting on a beach. Like, so many of us sit there and think like, oh my God, I got to get to the exit so I can like not do anything again. We all build again.
Yeah.
Life is in chapters. Suneera is acquired, not retired, right? Like, it's like really like when we look at that, like think about what the collective power we have. It's not just this moment, it's the next moment. And with more capital, you can have more impact. This is the most perfect example of that I could ever see. And I'm so grateful for you.
And investing in other female founders,
that's exactly
right?
what, with more capital comes more
do
access to do this. And I'm so grateful for you for not only staying in the game, but leading the freaking charge, girl. You are amazing. Yes. Thank you so much for coming on the Exit Whisperer.
So
First
happy to
ever
be
live
here.
show.
Thank you.